the Coptic Evangelical Organization for Social Services. The name has been wrong here. We've tried to correct it many times, but now it is corrected. Thank you, Rania. Sister Maureen, we would love you to come on the stage as well. Romario, most welcome. And we will also have one more panelist called Steve Chu. He's on his way. So it is my pleasure. I'm Valerian Bernard. I'm with the Brahma Kumaris, but I am also the co-chair of the Interfaith Liaison Committee with the UNFCCC. This is the platform where all the religions have been sitting together. And the purpose of this event is that the pursuit of a sustainable food system is essential to the resilience and well-being of people and the planet. Achieving this goal requires a just transition that emphasizes sorry about that, respect, harmony, and inclusivity. This event will emphasize the importance. Please come, I called you before you arrived. The importance of communities in fostering food sovereignty and spiritual empowerment, ultimately contributing to a more just and resilient society. So we are starting the streaming now. So everything will look very orderly. So we have the pleasure of having here with us Ms. Rania Rashad, and she is the funding manager of the Coptic Evangelical Organization for Social Services in Egypt. Close to her is our second speaker, Doman Amario Andres, and he is working in mission in Argentina. Our third speaker will be Sister Maureen. She's based in London, and she's the program director of our activities in the UK, but she is also the main UN representative for Vienna. And last but not least is our dear brother, Steve Chu. He is from Chuchi Foundation, and he is going to speak to us, as well as our other three speakers, of a best practice they have worked on in terms of food resilience, because this is such an important time, as I was saying previously, before they started the streaming. So I'm wondering if I should repeat that again. But maybe I don't need to repeat the whole thing, but just transition to sustainable food systems in communities is really an essential pathway of work for all of us. So without further ado, I will give Rania the first speaking slot. You have 5 minutes to present this best practice that you have been working on. Thank you, Rania.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. As Valerian said, my organization is called the Coptic Evangelical Organization for Social Services in Egypt. It was founded in the 1950s by late Reverend Samuel Habib, and he was the president of the Protestant churches in Egypt. And now also the presidency is for Reverend Dr. Andrea Zaki, and he is also the president for the Protestant churches in Egypt. Being a faith-based organization, we believe in equality and serving all Egyptian citizens regardless of their gender, race, or belief. That's why we believe that in gender equality and that women have the same rights in empowerment and in chances like their male counterparts. This is clear in all SEUS programs where gender is a cross-cutting issue in all SEUS programs, in addition to its being a standalone program. SEUS believes that women are a main active player in food security and just food systems in their communities, especially in rural areas. Hence, they are being empowered in this regard through various interventions. I'm going to present 3 interventions that we do with women. The first thing is ownership of assets, and this is in 2 types. There is collective ownership of assets, like production units, intensive in women labor, and managed by women CBOs, as a type of micro, small and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, where these production units all contribute to food security, such as peanuts. I think we need to start the presentation. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next. Okay. So I use it? Or? Okay, so next. So these are some examples of women empowerment sessions and trainings and so on. Next, please. Next again. Okay. Here comes an example of the production units I was talking about. This is one of the examples. It's a peanuts production unit. Next, please. These are examples of other production units, dairy products and pickles products. So this is an example of collective women ownership of assets in favor of food security. Then we have individual ownership of capital. Next, please. Where women are given access to livestock and poultry to sell their products and sell the products of these livestock and poultry to improve the income of their families and at the same time contribute to the food security of their communities. Of course, next please. Of course, all this involves a series of capacity building and feasibility studies trainings and small projects management trainings that are given very intensively to the women involved. The second intervention is the educational kitchens, where women are given education on how to prepare safe and good meals for their families. And as you can see here, they are given the nutrition pyramid and which percentages of the different dietary products should be included in the meals. And this is considered a link between food security and health, where this helps women protect their families and their communities from malnutrition diseases and other diseases related to food. The third thing is involving women in the agricultural value chains, where their roles appear in the post-harvest processes, sorting and packaging, and all post-harvest processes related to the crops, to the food crops, based on technical trainings and good agricultural processes for safe food products. Thank you.
I wanted to thank you so much, Rania, for sharing this with us. So, Rania, I'm saying it now because I was a little bit lost with all the different changes of time that we have been subjected to today. So, Ms. Rania Rashad is a public relations expert with 20 years of experience pertaining to programs in rural development, agroecology, and sustainable farmer-centered food systems. She currently leads CEOSS funding team. She holds accreditation for that day already, so there is no need for saying any more. Thank you so much, and sorry for the change of programs is a complication. My next friend who is going to talk with us today is Romario Andres Doman. He's 33 years old, and he's a forestry technician, coordinator of environmental initiative at the Protestant Foundation of Hora de Obrar, and he's the coordinator of the pastoral ministry for the promotion of creation care for the Evangelical Church of the River Plata in Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. And he also serves as a climate change advisor for the municipality of Posadas, and additionally he wrote on climate projects with the Ministry of Family Agriculture in the province of Misiones. The word is yours, Romario, and you have 5 minutes.
Okay. I live in Misiones, it's north of Argentina, near to Brazil, near to Paraguay. Area is a rainforest, and a cave region is for yerba mate production. Mate tea, a crop that is essential to the local economy and culture. However, for years, chronic drought and lack of rainfall. Consequence of climate change have severely affected small farmers, leading those significant choose their crops. Since 2020, we have worked with more than 3,000 small-scale farmers, planting over 400,000 native trees. This achievement has been possible thanks to the constant collaboration with various provincial organizations, such as the Ministry of Family Agriculture of Misiones and the Ministry of Climate Change, who have been strategic allies in this effort. Additionally, we have received support from local government and agriculture cooperatives, which have vital for building that and providing support to farmers. Our work goes beyond the simple act of planting trees. We also provide training and ongoing monitoring and awareness campaign about the impacts of climate change. Specifically, we have prioritized planting trees along streams and water sources to protect these vital resources, which are crucial for both biodiversity and human communities. The Misiones rainforest, a subtropical forest, is an ecosystem rich in biodiversity. However, it faces serious threat from deforestation and climate change. For this reason, we promote the planting of native trees. Not only is an act of adaptation and resilience, but also is a way to recover and protect this valuable habitat. We know that climate change knows no borders or limits, but its impact disproportionately affect the most vulnerable, such as small farmers. They face enormous challenges due to reduce harvest or, in the worst case, complete crop failures. This is why concrete action, such as planting trees and restoring ecosystems, are essential to ensure their survival and build the sustainable future. Finally, I call on our leaders to continue promoting the planting of native trees and encourage the conservation of biodiversity in region as rich as the Misiones rainforest. Planting a tree today is not just an act of hope, but an urgent climate action that can make a difference for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Romario, and thank you for the effort of speaking English. You were doing great. But I love the work you're doing, and I read his websites, and he speaks there of food sovereignty, which is something I really believe in, and I think that it is very pertinent for this type of place at this time at the COP29. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Sister Maureen. So Sister Maureen is, as I said earlier, the program director for the Brahma Kumaris in the UK, and she's also the permanent representative for the UN in Vienna. And she has been working for years with the faith-based organizations in England, and is also someone who really cares about the well-being of the communities in her region. So Maureen is going to present to us a best practice of the Brahma Kumaris called yogic farming. Please go ahead, Maureen, the word is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is a hugely important topic, and having resilience in our food systems, of course, also includes having resilience in our communities. And it's really about our way of living. I think we're all aware that the way in which we farm, the kind of food we eat, it contributes hugely to the environmental crisis, and in particular a meat and dairy diet. It increases the greenhouse gases of not just CO2, but methane, nitrous oxide, that all come from our various methods of farming, as well as, of course, contributes hugely to biodiversity loss. So to counteract this, the Brahma Kumaris, especially in India, have been looking into farming methods that are organic, but also employ a very important resource, which is the human being and the human consciousness. There is a direct connection between the way we think, the kind of attitude that we have, and the impact on the land, and the impact on what it is that we're growing for our food and our sustenance. Sustainable yogic agriculture is a method whereby farmers are taught to actually meditate in the fields, and they meditate at each stage of the crop development. At the time when the seeds are sown, actually just before sowing the seeds, I myself have taken part in a meditation with seeds just before sowing, and I don't know, it felt like I was making a huge contribution just by those good thoughts to those seeds. Then while sowing the seed, then when the first saplings come, actually each stage of crop development, the farmers are being very careful and very aware to give good feelings, good thoughts, which means good vibrations into the field itself. And the results have been quite remarkable, and they've been studied scientifically. So there are larger yields, more nutritious yields, and the phosphorus content of the soil is increased because it's actually, of course, all organic farming, and they have systems whereby nothing comes into the farm from the external. So even the fertilizer and everything is made from the plant waste, and if there is dairy, then animal waste too. So it's a very organic method, but the important thing is that it helps the farmers, of course, economically, that goes without saying, but also employing this method because the farmers themselves are focusing on their thoughts and their awareness. It actually is a great improvement to their mental health, their outlook, and their state of optimism. And if the farmers have better mental health and more optimistic awareness, then or worldview, then that, of course, also is then their families are affected by that, the whole community. And we also, where there are farming communities where we teach sustainable yogic agriculture, we also want to teach literacy and help the community come up in all ways. So this is a method that is now spreading in India, actually, because people are seeing the literal difference between a field where there is sustainable yogic agriculture and where there isn't. And then, of course, people saying, well, what's going on? And more people are adopting this method. But we're very pleased that scientifically studies are showing this, what the results are and the impact on the whole community. So our consciousness is something we need to take care of in whatever it is that we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Maureen, for bringing this element of the actual spiritual power of each farmer that can be also used in his work and for his family and his community. It is my pleasure now to present you with our last speaker, Steve Chu. He serves at Buddhi Chi Foundation's representative to the United Nations in New York. In alignment with Chu Chi's work in disaster relief and climate action, education for global citizenship, sustainable development, and gender equality. Steve works to build relationships, share best practices, and develop programs with other organizations to make tangible impact on the ground. So please, we are happy to hear one of the best practices you would like to share with us today, Steve. Go ahead.
Thanks, Valerian. Hi, everyone. Really happy to meet you all. I think the conversation so far has been so beautiful in that we've had a framing around how women-led food systems actions can really lead to transforming not only our whole economy, but really thinking about how that leads to also the empowerment of these women farmers. We've looked at Romario and how we can really take actions for hope, that it's not just about like despair, and there's this deep interlinkage with how our food systems and climate change is really playing into place, and how Maureen is bringing forth consciousness and really taking mindfulness, meditation into action. It's not just this stagnant energy, but rather something that can infuse the work that we're doing in our food systems with transformative power. And so maybe to build on this narrative, I wanted to lift up two key actions that our organization, Saji, is taking to kind of build on this conversation. So from the first side, I think this whole food systems approach is such an exciting conversation to be having within the UN ecosystem ecosystem here at COP. My first COP was in COP20 in Peru, and we were coming into this space talking about the need for us to shift towards plant-based diets because our industrial animal agricultural systems and our heavy dependency on meat-based diets was driving deforestation, was creating climate impacts. And the large community was really pushing back, saying, like, the food system conversation is not for COP, right? That you can take to FAO. You can bring that at the Committee for Food Security, but we're here to talk about climate change. There's no linkage, right? So it's really powerful to see that almost 10 years later here at COP29, not only are we having this conversation about food systems and its linkage to climate change, but that there is a deep linkage also to the wisdom that faith-based communities are bringing here at the Faith Pavilion. And so the first best practice, I think, is really centered around advocacy, right? The tremendous advocacy that our respective organizations and others have been doing within the UN ecosystem around food systems transformation, particularly what are the values that drive how we are designing our food systems and how they create a better whole of system approach, right? I think as faith-based organizations, we recognize that there's a deep interconnectedness between ourselves, all the sentient beings that exist within this food system, and then also the natural world itself, how we're transporting our food, all of that, right? This holistic view allows us to then speak to our interdependence and the need for compassion and empathy within this food system. This was some of the work that we led an entire food systems coalition in the lead up to the Food Systems Summit in 2021 that then translated into an entire statement on values that guide the way we transform our food systems. And accompanying that were hundreds of examples of how faith-based organizations were doing that. And so happy to share that after this meeting as well. But I think in addition to that, I think as faith-based organizations, we play a key role model in showcasing how our vision of aligning our values with actions can really move forward looks like. And so to that extent, Tzu Chi ourselves, we work in 136 countries, but our monastic home in Hualien, where we have over 200 monastic nuns who are farming the land to provide for and feed over 1,000 guests that are coming into our home every single day, work on a closed system where all of our food is farmed and generated and then recycled and then upcycled in our own little monastic abode, right? And it's to model and really showcase that not only can we eat nutritious and delicious plant-based foods, but that our relationship to the natural world as we're doing that can be one of regeneration, it can be one of empowerment, and it can be something that is also delicious, right? And to have people who are coming in experience that and see that this can be a better future that we're creating together. So I think that like advocacy and then modeling how we're really moving forward in creating these better food systems are two of the key ways that faith-based organizations really create that power. Yeah, I'll pause there. Thanks, Valerian.
Thanks a lot, Steve. He does all my work for me. That's why I like him. He's an excellent moderator. But when we met before we were having this event, he actually shared with me 3 or 4 other projects that he's working with that were equally as interesting as the one he shared about just now. So what I thought was that these people are working on the ground because of their love for people and because of the understanding that food is not just delicious, but food is also best when you create it and take care of it yourself. So we were thinking that here, in this atmosphere of despair, what is it that faith-based organization can bring? We won't feed everyone, but we can feed everyone with our energy, our thoughts, our feelings, our understanding. So my question for each one of you is, given the atmosphere of despair and anger we are witnessing this year at the COP, what would you recommend to the COP in general, but also to the negotiators? So maybe we can start with you, Rani. And I was thinking that we could have this exchange, this strong recommendation For 2 or 3 minutes, you can speak, and then we'll take questions from the floor.
Okay. I would like to start this by playing a very short video. It's less than 2 minutes, and then I'll wrap up with two messages. So if we can play this film, and it's subtitled, and it's narrated by my colleague Magda. She's among the audience here, and she's the one responsible for the implementation on the ground. Can we play the video, please?
They're doing it. It's behind you. It's starting.
The sound.
Sound is there. You have to put your...
Give two messages of recommendation. The first one is that MSMEs are a driving power for the economies of the global south countries. And rural women are main players in sustainable and equitable food security of their communities. Hence, rural women should be empowered to work individually or to be organized to work collectively in income-generating projects that contribute to sustainable food security while increasing their income. The second recommendation is that developed and rich countries and funding agencies are required to prioritize funding opportunities that target rural women empowerment, especially with regards to food security grants. Thank you.
Thank you so much for these two recommendations, really excellent. And I cannot not remember Vandana Shiva since you have been here. She is such an amazing advocate herself, and she has been explaining how it is small farmers that actually feed the world. So thank you for your work and thank you for your work. What about you, Romario? What would be your advice to the COP and the negotiators, given the atmosphere?
Okay, I think at this COP it is essential to prioritize family farming over conventional agriculture, as it not only ensures food security but also preserves biodiversity, protects ecosystem, and promote sustainable practice. Small-scale farmers are among the most vulnerable to climate change, yet they are also key allies in the mitigation adaptation. Investing in them is an act of climate justice and a crucial strategy for building a resilient future in harmony with nature. We cannot tackle climate change without them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Small scale farmer, family farmer, real people working for the rest of the world. And they need the help of structures like this. Sister Maureen, what would be your recommendation?
Thank you. I agree with the recommendations so far. So perhaps to add, excuse me, so perhaps to add the dimension of education, and that's very crucial. What do we teach in our schools, in our education systems, and when we are educating farmers, or we are encouraging farmers and providing methods and practices for farming. We have, again, because we're big in India, most of our big projects relate to there. And we have a radio station from our headquarters, and it's won several awards called Radio Madhuban, and we have representatives here. And they actually provide very practical advice to farmers, and they're encouraging a greater state of well-being. They're encouraging their mental health, meditation, but also very practically teaching them about sustainable yogic agriculture, but also about the importance of organic agriculture and a plant-based diet. So all of these things are done through the radio station, and it's very, very popular. And so whatever method of education we can find to give another alternative view to the usual chemical-led, factory farm-led agriculture that we have, I think that's very important. And I hope that the negotiators or this can somehow be brought into the the text that we have. The interests of the fossil fuel industry we know, but the interest of the chemical industry is just so huge. And so if you're giving another alternative view then, or alternative, which is actually more effective in the long term, then of course there are a lot of threats and there's a lot of danger. But I do feel this is a point of view that needs to come across. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Maureen, for bringing home to us the whole role of education, and non-conventional education at that, because the radio is actually being heard in all the small villages, and also making us aware of how our negotiators, but also the different industries, need to be touched upon. Please, Steve, the word is yours now.
Thanks, Valerian. I would lift up a couple of ideas. The first being, as we look to finalize our text this year, as we're looking at how we're financing the NCQG, this question of is our actions creating cycles of dependency or virtuous cycles, something that I hope everyone keeps in their heart, right? It can be very easy to prioritize short-term gains in the name of helping others, but then we lead a path that leads us down like unsustainable destruction. Right. And so as as negotiators, I think the question of are we creating virtuous cycles is something I hope is constantly in our hearts. The second being, I hope in moments of despair and lack of hope that we can step out into the broader ecosystem and fora of this space and really find hope and inspiration in the human stories that are being told here. You know, the good work is being done. It's not being scaled to the extent that it needs to be, but it exists and the wisdom is here, right? How do we lean on that wisdom in a non-extractive way? That's a puzzle I think we're all still trying to solve, but the answers are here within the broader community. And then really, I think from Tsuji's point of view, invest in community-led development. There's such power in people. And as we're looking to implement some of these climate actions, our hope is that we as faith communities can be seen as important partners in the winning of trust of communities, in co-implementing and creating those solutions together, and that governments are really investing in educating their partners and implementers in the importance of working with faith communities and showing them the nuances of how to do that effectively. And then I think finally, to not lose hope, recognizing that our lives are impermanent, right? There will be ups and downs. Right now, in a moment of despair, it can feel a little bit low, but what we're working to build are long-term sustainable solutions, right? Where the question of climate change is no longer a question of being a problem, it's an afterthought, because we have these powerful systems that are created that protect us from ourselves, right? So we're working for this long-term gain. We're gonna have ups and downs, find solace in each other, and we'll make it through.
Thank you very much, Steve, for bringing this to the table today. We definitely have to find pathways to create sustainable ways to live, and I think we will be. And even if it looks dark, I think we are definitely going to go in a space where solutions are there. I would like to open the floor for questions for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then I would like us to finish with something powerful that is reconstructive for despair, which is a meditation that Sister Maureen will lead us in. So in the meantime, please raise your hands if you have questions. We have a microphone here, and we will be happy to pass it on to you so that everyone can hear your questions. Raise your hands if you do have a question.
Hello, does this work? Okay, good. Okay, anyway, thank you very much for this very inspiring panel from all corners of the world and different spiritual angles. My question goes to the colleague from Argentina. I had the pleasure of visiting Misiones some 10 years ago. I was wondering, because you were talking also about the forest and your work with the trees there, and how far are the forests in Misiones also a source of food and linked to the food system of the local communities there? Thank you so much.
Is there any other question so we can take a few at a time?
Can I? Sorry. Thank you a lot, each panelist, for wonderful sharing. I am Ronilson Pacheco. I'm from Brazil, Institute of Studies on Religion. My question is, all the panelists, what do you think to be necessary to do to strengthen, guarantee not only representation, but much more participation, protagonism of our community, thinking the next COP? How to be possible their voice being heard for themselves in our gathering and conversation? Thank you.
Hello, thank you very much. Good morning to each and everyone here. My name is Ashim Yusuf from Ghana. My question is on awareness and also a question. I think we all consume chocolate here. We all consume chocolate here. Everywhere you see chocolate. You see chocolate everywhere, and we want to consume chocolate every day. But do we ask ourselves, where is the chocolate beans coming from? Where is the cocoa coming from? I'm from Ghana. Ghana and Ivory Coast, we produce 75% of the world cocoa beans. But you get to the farming communities of those who do farm the cocoa, they are very poor. They are poor farmers. And global average of cocoa production, out of the 100% of the cocoa business that is going, the chocolate business that is going on in the world, the all Africa only benefits from only 2%, 2% of the global cocoa industry. And you could imagine that you go to the cocoa farming communities, there are children who have never seen cocoa chocolate before. They have never seen chocolate before. And
you.
what is the world doing? Could we ask ourselves, what is going on? So how can we protect the cocoa farmers? Their children are not going to school, they are poor, and they are the farmers. They produce the cocoa. They sweat in the rain, in the sun, in the heat, and they produce this cocoa.
Thank you.
So I think I wanted to ask, what are we doing to at least protect these cocoa farmers? Because there's a problem that is going on now. The cocoa farmers realizing that they are poor, and their land too, there are golds under the land, gold under the land. So they sell the land to people who can mine the golds. And now the cocoa farming areas are turning into, we call it galamsey sites, where illegal mining activities is going on. And the illegal mining activities is being polluted by all sort of chemicals because they want the gold. Because they want the gold. So I'm asking, what are we doing to protect it? Because if we don't take care, it will come to a time where there will be no chocolate in the world again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your question and bringing the farmers of Africa in our room here today. I think you can choose to reply on any of the questions, each one of you. Who would like to start? I think you look energetic and enthusiastic. You've got something to say.
I love the questions, thanks. Okay, I'll go ahead and start, and then maybe I'll leave my panelists, who are very much experts, to add on as well. So in terms of the forest question, I think there's something lovely to be said about that, how you asked it in how it relates to how we see our forests as well, right? They're not just there for like a carbon sink, they're a part of our food source, a part of our culture, a part of our community, and our understanding of place, right? So I'm very much excited for Romario to speak to that, but I think for us as faith orgs, honoring and upholding and designating spaces as sacred sites, I think is a powerful tool that we have to be able to safeguard those places in order to kind of keep their prosperity. But that has to be done in collaboration with indigenous communities, as opposed to excluding indigenous communities in the name of creating these like safe carbon sink spaces that we're seeing happen around the globe right now. And so like perverse implementations of good intentions, right? In terms of how we strengthen participation at COP, how we ensure that the Brazilian local community is engaged and their voices are present at COP30, I think it's such an exciting question. It's work that Siji is doing right now. We're working with local communities already to begin to ask the questions of what is your relationship with climate change? What do you want to bring to next year's climate conference? And educating also, what are we experiencing here at COP29? What are some of those tensions? And beginning those conversations at a local community level, right? To ensure that whether or not any like external system can guarantee their active participation, any representative that comes from Tsuji's side can still bring those voices, right? And so I think that's a call to also our faith partners as well to do something similar within our pockets of communities, and then to open up space in a similar way to ensure that that representation is present, that we leave space also on our own delegations for local Brazilian community representatives so they themselves can authentically bring those voices and experiences to next year's COP. But that work can't be taking place like a month before COP. It has to start now, and it has to be built over the course of this year so every person coming in has the capacity built, ready, so that we can engage authentically, meaningfully, and we have those relationships that can really create impact. To my friend from Ghana on cocoa and thinking about what it means to protect the cocoa workers and also the illegal mining, I would lift up the mining working group that has a abundance of NGOs that are particularly concerned about the extractive relationship that mining has with communities that are vulnerable to exploitation. And so lifting up those stories, I think, is one part of the equation. But more importantly, it's about strengthening local governance, right? And so how do we as faith orgs advocate for the strengthening of local governance so these violations of human rights, of property rights, and impeding upon communities' abilities to thrive can be safeguarded and addressed at both a local and international level? And then, speaking of chocolate and thinking about awareness, one thing that Tsuji speaks a lot to is how do we change our social behaviors in a way that don't perpetuate these extractive industries, right? Like if we know that the majority of chocolate is grown in a way that does not enrich our Ghana populations of farmers, right? Can we, instead of buying cheap chocolate that isn't even delicious, right, invest our energy and effort into buying chocolate that comes from local Ghana farmers, right? But that sort of social behavior change, it has friction in our daily lifestyle. It has the need for us to change the way our desires operate. And I think that's where like faith operates best, right? Creating the necessary conditions to have social behavior change that is faith-inspired and meaningful beyond just the simple action itself. Yeah. I'll pause there and pass it over to my panelists.
Creating awareness is really always at the core of faith groups' work. Yes, who's going to speak? Rania.
I would like to answer my friend from Ghana. I think it takes two directions for awareness and rights to be achieved. As much as we need the organizations and the countries to realize the rights of the farmers in Ghana, I think the farmers themselves have to realize their rights and have to convey them some way or the other. So maybe I can give you our experience in my organization, where we organize farmers in groups and we train them on how to be empowered, how to claim their rights, how to voice their rights and needs to the different entities that entail these rights, whether in the government, in the private sector, or whatever. So the farmers themselves, if they don't claim these rights, they will not be gained. So they need to be organized in groups and maybe represented in higher or official groups at districts level or something. And these groups should represent the constituencies to present and claim the rights with the government entities and with the private sector. I think this is the short way to do it. Thank you.
Once an educator, ever an educator. Thank you so much, Rania, for bringing this. And I hope our friend from Ghana could visualize how to organize farmers. It's a huge job, isn't it?
Okay, the first question, the trees we have planted not only restore ecosystem and protect water resource, but also provide fruit and medicinal resources essential for indigenous communities. These communities deeply connect to the land, really, and biodiversity for their food, health, and culture practice. We are work with near 25 different indigenous communities at the moment. And in the second question, maybe I think for the next COP, it is essential to collaborate more throughout the year with all governments, other NGOs, and yes, also with businesses to make a great advocacy.
Maureen and I just now were in the conference in Colombia around biodiversity. And one of the terrible things that is happening to biodiversity is mining. So this is also a place, our friend from Ghana, the whole biodiversity circle is a place where you can bring this as well, because they really are looking into the harms of mining very strongly. Maureen?
I think what we're seeing coming out through these questions and the responses is how essential it is that there's a change in lifestyle and a change in our behaviour. And today, unfortunately, well, let me start again. We've talked about communication with, working with constituencies, but we also need to work with the governments throughout the year. That's also very important, and to keep putting things on the table. The essential thing for progress is communication, clear communication. So clearly communicating the issues, but also bringing the actual experiences of people to the governments. That's really crucial. And, it's about ultimately then touching the heart. I'm always an advocate of a plant-based lifestyle, and that really can make a huge difference the more we can promote that. I'd love to see a day when we come to COP and there's only plant-based food available. That would make a huge statement that we're really serious about climate change. I'm not quite sure what to respond about the farmers in Ghana, because there is something, and I'm not an economist, there is something so wrong with our system, the colonial system, that only 2% of benefit goes to the farmers. And I wish I knew more to be able to respond, but all I can say is that there's something very fundamentally wrong, which we all know, and it needs fixing. But we're a big part of the equation in the global north. I mean, I live in the UK, because we are required to change big time in our habits. Thank you.
So as I offered earlier, I would like you, Maureen, to lead us into a moment of silence and meditation, because I think that only through inner processes can we manage our despair and anger, even in the face of so many complications in the climate change area.
Yes, I'm reminded again and again of what comes to mind again and again, this phrase which was used in one of the plenaries, and I quoted it here earlier today, that despair is not a strategy. And we really need to do something different with our inner processes. So let us just take a moment of quiet in this noise. Why? Because quietness can happen internally, even though there may be chaos externally. As I go inside, let me become aware of my inner world, of my thoughts and feelings. It's like sometimes the mind can be like a stormy ocean. But let me dive deep. When you dive into the depths of the ocean, there is silence and stillness. And so too when we go into the depth of our own being, there is stillness, there is silence, there is peace, there is love. there is truth. And these qualities of the inner being of the self are not dependent on anything external. Let me strengthen these qualities through my thinking. How powerful it is to have the thought, I am a being of peace. Just that thought can calm me, bring me clarity, give me the strength to continue to move forward. Always remember, I am a being of peace, and I bring peace to my workplace, my community, my family, my world. Thank you.
Thank you to our panelists, and thank you to all of you for being with us this morning. And a very good day, a very peaceful one, hopefully. Goodbye. Okay, I'm being asked for a group photo, so maybe we could stand together.